Hyunwoo Kim stood in front of the massive window of his office, watching the stars drift by as the transport ship moved through hyperspace. He had been a diplomat for 3 years now, but he still remembered his time as a military engineer. Those skills came in handy more often than he expected in his new job. "Sir, we have another message from the Galactic Council," said his assistant, handing him a datapad. "They seem very worried about something." Hyunwoo read the message and raised an eyebrow. The council wanted 2 human representatives to attend an emergency session. They had never asked for human input before. In fact, most council species tried to avoid humans altogether. "Get me Dayun Park from the science division," he said. "Tell her to pack her bags." 20 minutes later, Dayun knocked on his office door. She was young for a xenobiologist, only 29, but she was the best they had. She also had a strange hobby of collecting information about dangerous alien creatures. "You called for me?" she asked, stepping inside with a bright smile. "We're going to the council station," Hyunwoo said, handing her the message. "Emergency session about something called the Void Swarm." Daeun's eyes lit up as she read. "Oh, this sounds exciting. I've heard rumors about this Void Swarm. Apparently it eats entire star systems. I've been dying to get some data on it." Hyunwoo looked at her with mild concern. Most people would be terrified at the mention of something that ate star systems. Daeun looked like she had just been invited to her favorite restaurant. "Pack your formal clothes," he said, "and maybe bring some of your research materials. I have a feeling they're going to ask us some difficult questions." "Should I bring my presentation on Earth's ecosystem?" she asked hopefully. "Probably not a good idea," Hyunwoo replied, remembering the last time she had shown alien diplomats pictures of great white sharks. 3 of them had fainted. 2 days later, their ship approached the council station. It was enormous, the size of a small moon, with docking bays that could hold thousands of ships. Hyunwoo had seen it before, but it still impressed him. "Incoming transmission," announced the ship's computer. A nervous voice came through the speakers. "Human vessel, please proceed to docking bay 77 Alpha. Please note that the station will be adjusting environmental controls for your arrival." "Environmental controls?" Daeun asked. "They need to make the air safe for us," Hyunwoo explained. "Our normal atmosphere is poisonous to most council species." "Really? But our air is so mild," Daeun said. "I mean, we barely have any sulfur compounds, and the oxygen content is pretty low compared to some worlds I've studied." Hyunwoo sometimes forgot that Daeun's idea of normal was a bit different from most people's. As their ship docked, they could see through the windows that the normally busy docking bay was almost empty. A few maintenance robots worked in the distance, but no organic beings were visible. "Where is everyone?" Daeun wondered. "Probably waiting for the air to be safe," Hyunwoo said. They put on their formal diplomatic clothes and prepared to leave the ship. Hyunwoo wore a simple black suit, while Daeun chose a navy blue dress with a jacket. They both looked professional and harmless. The airlock opened, and they stepped onto the station. The air felt normal to them, but they could see warning lights flashing along the corridors. Signs in dozens of languages warned about dangerous atmospheric conditions and Deathworlder presence. A security escort was waiting for them. The escort consisted of 6 robots and 1 very nervous-looking alien in a full environmental suit. "Welcome to Council Station," the alien said through a speaker in his suit. "I am Assistant Protocol Officer Zintar. Please follow the designated path. Do not touch anything unnecessarily." They walked through empty corridors toward the main council chamber. Hyunwoo noticed that blast doors sealed shut behind them as they passed. "Are we contaminating something?" Daeun asked innocently. "No," Zintar replied quickly. "It's just standard procedure for your species." They entered a large waiting area outside the council chamber. The room had been specially prepared with chairs that could support human body weight and temperature. Controls set to Earth normal. Everything looked expensive but sterile, like a hospital waiting room. "The council will see you shortly," Zintar said, backing away as far as possible while still being polite. "Please remain in this area. Do not explore the station." After he left, Daeun turned to Hyunwoo. "Why is everyone so scared of us? We're just humans." "That's exactly why they're scared," Hyunwoo said. Remember, to them, we come from what they consider the most dangerous world in known space. But Earth is so nice, Daun protested. Sure, we have a few predators and some weather, but it's not that bad. Hyunwoo thought about this. Humans did tend to see Earth as normal because they grew up there. But he remembered the first time he had seen a council report about Earth. The report had classified their home planet as Class Doki Deathworld, Extreme Hazard, Quarantine Recommended. The report had listed Earth's dangers: violent weather systems, aggressive predators, poisonous plants and animals, high gravity, dangerous radiation levels, and worst of all, a species that had somehow thrived in these conditions and developed space travel. Maybe we should be more careful about how we present ourselves, Hyunwoo suggested. What do you mean? Daeun asked. Maybe don't mention that you swim in the ocean for fun, he said. But swimming is relaxing, she said, confused. Yes, but the ocean contains sharks, jellyfish, and other things that could kill most council species just by being in the same room with them. Daeun thought about this. Oh, I see your point. Before she could respond further, the doors to the council chamber opened. A melodious voice announced, "The council will now receive the human representatives." They walked through the doors into the most impressive room Hyunwoo had ever seen. The chamber was enormous, with seating arranged in a great circle. Hundreds of different alien species were present, each in their own environmental bubble or protective suit. The air in the chamber was carefully divided into sections, each with different atmospheric conditions. Warning barriers surrounded the human section, which glowed with a soft red light that Hyunwoo assumed meant danger zone. As they walked to their designated seats, he could see the reaction of the council members. Some were staring with obvious fear. Others were hiding behind protective barriers. A few had additional security robots positioned nearby. "Welcome," said a beautiful, ethereal being that seemed to be made of light and music. "I am Ambassador Veltar of the Serenity Collective. Thank you for coming on such short notice." "Thank you for inviting us," Hyunwoo replied politely. "Before we begin," Veltar continued, "we must inform you that this session is being recorded for historical purposes. The Council has never before requested aid from a species of your particular nature." Daeun leaned over to Hyunwoo and whispered, "I think she means Deathworlders." "I gathered that," he whispered back. Veltar continued, "We face a crisis, unlike any in our recorded history. The entity known as the Void Swarm has consumed 23 star systems in the past 6 months. Our greatest minds have been unable to find a solution." She paused, and her light dimmed slightly. "We have come to the conclusion that perhaps a different perspective is needed. A perspective from beings who understand survival in impossible conditions." Hyunwoo looked around the chamber. Every alien present was watching them with a mixture of hope and terror, as if they were asking two wild tigers for help with a mouse problem. "We're honored to help," he said simply. But he couldn't shake the feeling that the council had no idea what they were getting themselves into by asking humans for advice on how to deal with something dangerous. The council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Veltar began explaining the situation. Her voice was like soft music, and her body seemed to glow with gentle light. Hyunwoo noticed that most of the other council members looked similar to her, delicate, peaceful, and beautiful. "The Void Swarm appeared 6 months ago in the Outer Rim territories," Veltar said. "At first we thought it was a natural phenomenon, perhaps a new type of cosmic storm or gravitational anomaly." She gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a star system with several planets. Everything looked normal and peaceful. "This was the Harmony System," she continued, "home to 12 billion beings from the Peaceful Union. They were known throughout the galaxy for their art and music." The display changed. Now the star system was gone. In its place was empty space with a few scattered debris fields. "The Void Swarm consumed everything," Veltar said sadly. "The star, the planets, even the space stations. Nothing remained except trace particles." Daeun leaned forward in her chair, clearly fascinated. "How fast did this happen?" she asked. Several council members flinched at her enthusiastic tone. They seemed surprised that anyone could be interested in such destruction. The entire system was consumed in 72 hours, replied a crystalline being that looked like a living gemstone. I am High Researcher Quindala of the Academic Union. We have been studying this phenomenon extensively. 72 hours. Taoyuan repeated, making notes on her datapad. That's incredibly efficient. What kind of energy requirements would that involve? We estimate the energy output equivalent to 700 supernovas, Quindala answered. Fascinating, Daon said with obvious excitement. Hyunwoo noticed that her enthusiasm was making the council members nervous. He decided to ask more practical questions. What does the void swarm look like? He asked. Do we have any visual data? The holographic display changed again. This time it showed something that hurt to look at. It was dark and shifting, like a piece of space itself had come alive. It moved in ways that didn't make sense, folding through dimensions that shouldn't exist. We have limited visual data, said a new voice. This came from a 6-limbed insectoid creature that was much more heavily armored than the other council members. I am War Commander Zeph of the Hive Territories. Our scout ships have attempted to observe the swarm, but few return. What happened to the scouts that didn't return? Daon asked. They simply stopped existing, Zeph replied. No debris, no distress signals. One moment they were there, the next moment they were not. How many scout ships have you lost? Hyunwoo asked. 417, Zeph said quietly. Hyunwoo did some quick math in his head. Each scout ship probably had a crew of 5 to 10 beings. The council had lost thousands of lives just trying to observe this thing. What have you tried so far? He asked. Veltar's light dimmed. We have attempted diplomatic contact. We sent messages in every known language and mathematical system. We tried music, art, and poetry. We even sent gifts of our most precious cultural artifacts. The void swarm consumed the gift ships along with everything else. Quindala added. We have also tried defensive measures, Zeph continued. We evacuated 17 systems that were in the swarm's path. We built massive shield generators and defense platforms. Nothing worked. The swarm consumed them all. Dayun was taking notes furiously. What about weapons? Have you tried to fight it? The chamber fell completely silent. Many council members looked shocked that anyone would suggest violence. Fight it? Veltar asked as if the concept was foreign to her. We are peaceful beings, Quindala explained. The Academic Union has not engaged in warfare for over 2,000 years. We resolve conflicts through discussion and compromise. The Hive Territories maintain defensive capabilities, Zeph said. But our weapons are designed to disable, not destroy. We haven't built anything meant to cause actual harm in centuries. Hyunwoo was starting to understand the problem. These species had lived in peace for so long that they had forgotten how to fight. They were like a neighborhood that had never experienced crime trying to deal with an invasion. May we see more detailed data about the void swarm? He asked politely. Of course, Quindala replied. The holographic display changed to show charts, graphs, and technical readings. We have compiled over 3 million data points about the phenomenon. Dayun studied the data for several minutes. Then she looked up, with a bright smile. This is wonderful. You have excellent sensor readings. The energy patterns are unlike anything I've ever seen. You find this wonderful? Asked a being that looked like a living plant. This entity has destroyed entire civilizations. Oh yes. It's terrible, Daun agreed quickly. But from a scientific perspective, it's absolutely fascinating. Look at these quantum signatures, and the way it manipulates space-time. I've never seen anything like it. The plant being swayed backward, clearly disturbed by her enthusiasm. Hyunwoo decided to take control of the conversation before Da-un accidentally terrified anyone else. We appreciate you sharing this information with us, he said. We'll need some time to analyze the data and discuss possible approaches. Of course, Veltar said. But please understand, we are running out of time. The void swarm is currently moving toward the core systems. If it continues at its current pace, it will reach the council homeworlds within 1 year. We understand the urgency, Hyunwoo assured her. There is one more thing, Zeph said. We must ask, what is it like to live on a death world? The question seemed to come from genuine curiosity, but Hyunwoo could see that every council member was listening intently. It's normal to us, he replied carefully. But how do you survive? Asked Quindala. Our studies of Earth indicate that your planet is constantly trying to kill its inhabitants. The weather alone should be lethal to most life forms. Da-yun perked. Oh, Earth's weather isn't that bad. Sure, we have hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, floods, and droughts, but you learn to deal with them. Several council members made worried sounds. And the predators, continued a small, fluffy alien that looked like a living teddy bear. Our data shows your world contains creatures that exist solely to hunt and kill other creatures. Well, yes, Da-yun agreed. But that's just nature. Everything has to eat something. You have creatures called sharks that are essentially living weapons, the teddy bear alien said, consulting his datapad. And yet your species swims in the same waters, with them, for recreation. Sharks are actually quite beautiful, Da-un said, and they're not that dangerous if you know what you're doing. The teddy bear alien fainted. Hyunwoo sighed. Perhaps we should focus on the void swarm problem, he suggested. Yes, Veltar agreed quickly. How soon can you provide recommendations? Give us 24 hours to review the data, Hyunwoo said. We'll present our analysis tomorrow. Excellent, Veltar replied. We have prepared quarters for you in the diplomatic section. Please note that the entire section will be sealed and monitored for your safety. For our safety? Da-un asked. And everyone else's, Zeph added quietly. As they were escorted out of the chamber, Hyunwoo could hear worried conversations breaking out behind them. He caught fragments of phrases like, dangerous beyond calculation, and what have we done? They seem nice, Da-un commented as they walked down the corridor. Hyunwoo wondered if they were making a terrible mistake by helping these peaceful beings. But the void swarm was a real threat, and someone had to stop it. He just hoped the council was prepared for what human solutions typically involved. Hyunwoo and Da-un spent the night in their quarters reviewing the void swarm data. Their rooms were comfortable but clearly designed to contain them. The doors were extra thick and warning signs covered every surface. These energy readings are incredible, Da-yun said, studying her datapad over breakfast. The void swarm doesn't just destroy matter. It actually breaks down the fundamental forces that hold atoms together. Can it be stopped? Hyunwoo asked, sipping his coffee. Everything can be stopped, Da-un replied with confidence. We just need to figure out how. Hyunwoo hoped she was right. He had spent his military career solving impossible problems, but this was different. This thing ate star systems. 2 hours later, they returned to the council chamber. The same aliens were present, but now they had additional security. Hyunwoo counted at least 50 armed robots positioned around the human section. Have you reached any conclusions? Ambassador Veltar asked hopefully. We have some preliminary thoughts, Hyunwoo replied, standing up. But first, we need to understand your limitations better. What do you mean? Asked High Researcher Quindala. What is the closest distance any of your ships has gotten to the void swarm? Da-yun asked. Approximately 50,000 kilometers, War Commander Zeph replied. Any closer and they are consumed. Da-yun made notes. And what's the fastest ship? Speed you can achieve? Our fastest vessels can reach 0.7 light speed, Quindala answered proudly. What about weapons? Hyunwoo asked. What's the most powerful weapon you have? The chamber fell silent. Several aliens looked uncomfortable. We have defensive plasma arrays, Zeph said finally. They can disable a ship's engines or destroy asteroids. Anything stronger? Hyunwoo pressed. Stronger? Veltar asked. Why would we need stronger weapons? Hyunwoo realized he was dealing with species that had lived in peace so long they couldn't even imagine serious warfare. Okay, he said carefully. Let us present our analysis. Da-yun activated her holographic projector. Several council members flinched when the device appeared, apparently thinking it was a weapon. Based on your data, she began cheerfully. We believe the void swarm is some kind of living entity. It shows patterns of behavior that suggest intelligence. The hologram displayed the void swarm's movement patterns. Instead of moving randomly, It followed specific paths through space. Notice how it chooses targets, Dayun continued. It doesn't just consume everything it encounters. It specifically seeks out inhabited systems. You're suggesting it hunts us deliberately? Quindala asked, sounding horrified. Exactly, Dayun said with enthusiasm, which is actually good news, because it means we can predict its behavior. How is that good news? Squeaked the small teddy bear alien, who had apparently recovered from his earlier fainting episode. If it's hunting, then we can set traps, Hyunwoo explained. The word traps caused a ripple of nervous sounds throughout the chamber. What kind of traps? Veltar asked cautiously. That depends on what we're trying to accomplish, Hyunwoo said. Do you want to kill it, capture it, or just make it go away? Kill it? Several voices gasped at once. Is that possible? Zeph asked, leaning forward with interest. Probably, Daun said. But we'd need to get close enough to study it first. How close? Quindala asked. Maybe 1,000 kilometers, Daun estimated. Close enough to take detailed scans and maybe collect some samples. The entire chamber erupted in shocked sounds. Several aliens started speaking at once in their own languages, and Hyunwoo caught words that probably translated to insane and suicidal. That's impossible, Zeph said. Nothing can survive that close to the void swarm. Your ships can't, Hyunwoo agreed, but human ships are built differently. How are they different? Veltar asked. They're designed to survive in hostile environments, Daun explained. Human space is full of dangerous things. Solar flares, radiation storms, gravitational anomalies, hostile aliens. Our ships are built to handle problems. What she means, Hyunwoo added, is that human ships are military vessels. Even our civilian ships have weapons and armor. This statement caused another wave of shocked murmurs. All human ships have weapons? The plant being asked. Of course, Daun replied, confused by the question. How else would you defend yourself? We have never needed to defend ourselves in space, Quindala said. Space is peaceful. Not where humans come from, Hyunwoo said. Human space has pirates, hostile aliens, dangerous phenomena, and worse. We've learned to be prepared. What could be worse than pirates and hostile aliens? Asked the teddy bear alien. Daeyoon and Hyunwoo exchanged glances. Other humans, they said at the same time. The chamber fell completely silent. You fight each other? Veltar asked in a small voice. Sometimes, Hyunwoo admitted. Humans don't always agree on things. When we can't solve problems with words, we sometimes use other methods. Violence, Zeph said. It wasn't a question. Controlled violence, Hyunwoo corrected. There are rules. Rules for violence, Quindala repeated slowly, as if the concept was difficult to understand. The point is, Daun said, trying to get back to the main topic, human ships can get close enough to study the void swarm properly. Then what? Veltar asked. Then we figure out how to kill it, Hyunwoo said simply. But what if it's too powerful to kill? Asked the plant being. Then we find something more powerful, Daeyoon replied cheerfully. What could be more powerful than something that eats star systems? The teddy bear alien asked. Daeyoon thought about this seriously. Well, humans have some interesting weapons. We could try nuclear devices, antimatter bombs, or maybe a relativistic kinetic impactor. What is a relativistic kinetic impactor? Quindala asked nervously. You take a large mass, maybe an asteroid, and accelerate it to near light speed, Daeyoon explained. When it hits something, it releases more energy than most stars produce. Several council members made choking sounds. You have weapons that powerful? Zeph asked. We have weapons much more powerful than that, Hyunwoo said. But we'd prefer to start with something smaller and work our way up. Work your way up? Veltar repeated. Standard human problem solving, Daeyoon explained. If a small weapon doesn't work, try a bigger weapon. If that doesn't work, try an even bigger weapon. Eventually, you find something that works. What if nothing works? Asked the plant being. Hyunwoo and Daeun looked at each other again. Then we build something new, they said together. The chamber was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Veltar spoke. Are you saying that humans would willingly fly toward this entity that has destroyed 23 star systems, get close enough to study it, and then attack it with weapons of mass destruction? That's the basic plan, yes, Hyunwoo confirmed. And, you think this will work? Quindala asked. It might not work the first time, Daun admitted, but we'll keep trying different approaches until something does work. How many humans would volunteer for such a mission? Zeph asked. All of them, Hyunwoo replied without hesitation. All of them? Veltar gasped. Humans like challenges. Dayun explained. This would be the ultimate challenge. We'd have to turn people away. The council members sat in stunned silence trying to process what they had just heard. So, Veltar said finally, your species' solution to an unstoppable cosmic horror is to fly directly at it with weapons and hope for the best? That's a simplified version, Hyunwoo said, but essentially correct. And you think this is a reasonable plan? She asked. It's the only plan that has a chance of working, he replied. The council members began talking among themselves in worried voices. Hyunwoo could hear fragments of conversation, most of which seemed to involve phrases like completely insane and they're going to get us all killed. But he also heard other phrases, might actually work, and what choice do we have? After 20 minutes of worried discussions, Ambassador Veltar called for order in the chamber. Her usual gentle glow seemed dimmer than before. The council has many concerns about your proposed approach, she said carefully. Perhaps you could help us understand human methods better. Of course, Hyunwoo replied. What would you like to know? Could you give us an example of how humans would handle a smaller problem? Asked High Researcher Quindala, something less catastrophic than the Void Swarm. Dayun's face brightened. Oh, that's a great idea. Let me create a scenario. She activated her holographic projector again, causing several aliens to flinch. The display showed a peaceful star system with several inhabited planets. Let's say you detect a dangerous predator approaching this system, Daun began. It's not as big as the Void Swarm, but it's still deadly. You have 72 hours before it arrives. What would your species do? Veltar spoke first. The Serenity Collective would immediately begin evacuation procedures. We would move all inhabitants to safe locations far from the threat. How far? Hyunwoo asked. At least 50 light years, Veltar replied. We would also attempt to communicate with the entity. Perhaps we could convince it to leave peacefully. Quindala nodded. The Academic Union would support full evacuation. We would also begin extensive research into the creature's behavior patterns. We would consult our historical archives and form research committees to study the problem. How long would the research take? Daeun asked. Several months, at minimum, Quindala answered. We would need to be thorough. Hasty decisions often lead to mistakes. War Commander Zeph shifted in his seat. The Hive territories would also evacuate, but we would establish defensive positions at the system's edge. We would build shields and barriers to protect our escape routes. Excellent approaches, Daun said encouragingly. Very sensible and safe. Now how would humans handle the same situation? She changed the holographic display to show human ships moving toward the threat instead of away from it. First, we would send scout ships to get close-range information about the creature, she explained. We need to know exactly what we're dealing with. How close would these scouts get? Asked the small teddy bear alien. As close as possible, without being detected, Hyunwoo answered. Maybe within a few hundred kilometers. Several council members made gasping sounds. While the scouts gather information, Daun continued, we would position attack ships at strategic points around the system. We want to be ready to fight if negotiations fail. You would attempt negotiations? Veltar asked hopefully. Of course, Hyunwoo replied, but we'd be ready to fight if the creature isn't interested in talking. What if your scouts are detected? Quindala asked. Then they switch to combat mode and try to damage the creature while gathering as much information as possible before they're destroyed, Daun explained matter-of-factly. You expect them to die? The plant being asked in horror. It's a possibility, Hyunwoo admitted. Scout pilots know the risks. They volunteer anyway. Why would anyone volunteer for such a mission? Veltar asked. Because someone has to do it, Doan replied simply. And because the information they gather might save millions of lives. But surely you would try to minimize casualties, Quindala said. Of course, Hyunwoo agreed. We'd use our best pilots and our fastest ships. We'd give them every advantage possible. What would you consider acceptable losses for this mission? Zeph asked. Hyunwoo thought for a moment. For a scouting mission, against an unknown threat, maybe 15 to 20% casualties. The chamber erupted in shocked sounds. Several aliens began speaking at once in their own languages. 20%? Veltar gasped. You consider the death of 1 in 5 soldiers acceptable? For this type of mission, yes, Hyunwoo replied calmly. If the alternative is losing entire planets, then 20% casualties is actually quite good. Quite good? The teddy bear alien squeaked. In human military history, some missions have had casualty rates of 50% or higher. Dayun added helpfully. 20% means most people come home alive. Most people, Quindala repeated slowly. What happens after your scouts gather information? Veltar asked, though she looked like she didn't really want to know the answer. Then we decide how to kill the creature, Daun said cheerfully. Just like that? Asked the plant being. Well, first we analyze the data, Hyunwoo explained. We look for weaknesses, study its behavior patterns, figure out what weapons might be effective. How long would this analysis take? Quindala asked. Maybe 6 hours, Daun replied. 6 hours? Quindala's crystalline form flickered with shock. The academic union would need months to properly analyze such data. Humans make decisions quickly when lives are at stake, Hyunwoo said. We'd rather act on partial information than wait too long and lose everything. But what if you're wrong? Veltar asked. Then we try something else, Daun replied. Humans are good at adapting. You make it sound so simple, Zeph observed. The basic approach is simple, Hyunwoo agreed. Find the enemy, learn about the enemy, kill the enemy. The details can be complicated, but the strategy is straightforward. What if the creature is too powerful to kill with conventional weapons? The teddy bear alien asked. Then we use unconventional weapons, Dayan said. Such as? Quindala prompted nervously. Nuclear devices, antimatter bombs, gravity weapons, dimensional disruptors, Dayan listed casually. Humans have developed quite a variety of destructive tools over the years. You have all of these weapons? Veltar asked faintly. Of course, Hyunwoo replied. You never know what kind of problem you might encounter. What if even your most powerful weapons aren't enough? Zeph pressed. Then we build new weapons, Daun answered. Or we find a way to use the environment. Against the creature. Maybe we could lure it into a black hole or collapse a star on top of it. Collapse a star? Several voices gasped at once. It's just an example, Hyunwoo said quickly. We'd try smaller solutions first. How small? The plant being asked weakly. Maybe just blow up a planet, Da-un suggested. That usually solves most problems. The chamber fell completely silent. Every alien present was staring at the humans with expressions of pure horror. You would destroy a planet to kill one creature? Veltar whispered. An empty planet, Hyunwoo clarified. We wouldn't blow up an inhabited world unless there was absolutely no other choice. And if there was no other choice? Quindala asked. Hyunwoo met her gaze steadily. Then we'd evacuate as many people as possible and do what needed to be done. UI would sacrifice billions of lives to save billions of other lives? Zeph asked. If that was the only option, yes, Hyunwoo replied. The council members sat in stunned silence for several minutes. Finally, Veltar spoke again. Let me make sure. I understand, she said slowly. Your species' approach to problems is to gather information through dangerous reconnaissance missions, analyze that information quickly, and then attack with overwhelming force. That's a reasonable summary, Hyunwoo agreed. And if your first attack fails, You try progressively more destructive weapons until something works, she continued. Or until we find a different approach, Daun added. Sometimes the solution isn't about weapons at all. But your default assumption is that violence will solve the problem, Quindala observed. Violence solves most problems, Hyunwoo replied. Matter-of-factly. Most problems? The teddy bear alien asked. In human experience, yes, Da-un confirmed. When talking doesn't work, fighting usually does. And you're confident this approach would work against the Void Swarm? Veltar asked. We won't know until we try, Hyunwoo said. But it's the best chance we have. The council members began another round of worried discussions. This time, Hyunwoo could hear more phrases like, our only option, and better than waiting to die. But he could also hear, they're going to destroy everything and we're asking monsters to save us from a monster. He wondered if the council truly understood what they were asking for. The council chamber buzzed with nervous conversations for nearly an hour. Hyunwoo and Da-yun sat quietly, waiting for the aliens to reach their decision. They could hear fragments of debate in dozens of different languages, but the tone was clear. The council was terrified of both the Void Swarm and their potential human allies. Finally, Ambassador Veltar called for silence. Her usual gentle glow seemed to flicker with uncertainty. The council has reached a preliminary decision, she announced. But first we have one final question. Of course, Hyunwoo replied politely. In your experience, Veltar asked carefully, what do humans call beings like us? Peaceful species from safe, gentle worlds? Da-un tilted her head thoughtfully. Well, that depends on the context. Are we talking about a diplomatic situation, a scientific classification, or just casual conversation? Casual conversation, Quindala clarified. Oh, that's easy, Da-un said with a bright smile. We'd probably call you pets. The word hit the chamber like a bomb. Every alien present went completely still. The only sound was the gentle hum of the life support systems. Pets? Veltar whispered. It's not meant to be insulting. Hyunwoo added quickly, seeing the expressions of shock around the chamber. It's just that most of you are small, cute, and live in perfectly safe environments. From a human perspective, that's very similar to how we keep our companion animals. You think we're animals? Squeaked the teddy bear alien. No, Da-un said reassuringly. You're obviously intelligent beings with complex civilizations, but your lifestyles are very similar to what humans consider ideal conditions for beloved pets: safe, comfortable, well-fed, protected from all dangers. We have achieved perfect peace. The plant being protested weekly. Exactly, Da-un agreed. Just like a well-cared-for pet. No predators, no violence, no need to fight for survival. It's actually quite nice. War Commander Zeph leaned forward. And what would you call species like yours? Deathworlders, Hyunwoo replied, though some humans prefer terms like apex predator or survival specialist. And you see us as... Veltar struggled to find the words. Innocent, Da-un finished gently. Sweet, innocent beings who have never had to face real danger. It's actually endearing. The council members exchanged looks that seemed to mix horror with resignation. The IE, vote, Zeph said suddenly. We should take the vote. Veltar nodded slowly. All those in favor of accepting the human proposal to lead anti-Void Swarm operations? Hands, tentacles, and various alien appendages rose throughout the chamber. Hyunwoo counted quickly. It looked like a unanimous vote. The motion passes, Veltar announced. The Galactic Council hereby authorizes humanity to take whatever actions they deem necessary to eliminate the Void Swarm threat. Whatever actions necessary, Hyunwoo repeated, wanting to be sure he understood correctly. Within reason, Quindala added nervously. What do you consider reasonable? Da-yun asked. The council members looked at each other uncertainly. Please don't destroy any inhabited worlds unless absolutely necessary, Veltar pleaded. We'll try to avoid that, Hyunwoo promised. And please don't kill anyone who doesn't need to be killed. added the teddy bear alien. Standard rules of engagement, Hyunwoo agreed. What are your standard rules of engagement? Zeph asked suspiciously. Don't kill anyone who isn't actively trying to kill you or your allies, Daewon explained. Don't destroy anything that doesn't need to be destroyed. Try to minimize collateral damage. That seems reasonable, Veltar said, though she still looked worried. When can you begin? Quindala asked. Immediately, Hyunwoo replied. We'll need to return to human space to organize the mission, but we can have scout ships moving toward Void Swarm territory within a week. A week? Several voices gasped. Human military moves fast when there's a real threat, Daewon explained. We've been dealing with dangerous situations for our entire history. We're good at mobilizing quickly. How many ships will you need? Zeph asked. For the initial scouting mission, maybe 50 ships, Hyunwoo estimated. For the main assault, we'll probably need several hundred. Several hundred warships, Veltar repeated faintly. Plus support vessels, supply ships, and maybe a few specialized weapon platforms, Daewon added helpfully. Weapon platforms? Quindala asked. Big guns, Hyunwoo explained simply. Really big guns. The plant being swayed weakly. How big? Big. Enough to kill something that eats star systems, Daewon replied cheerfully. There was another moment of silence as the council absorbed this information. Is there anything else you need from us? Veltar asked. Just stay out of our way, Hyunwoo said. When we engage the Void Swarm, we don't want any civilian ships in the area. It's going to be very dangerous. How dangerous? The teddy bear alien asked. Extremely dangerous, Daewon said with obvious excitement. We'll be fighting something that can destroy solar systems. Even with our best ships and weapons, we'll probably lose at least half our forces. Half? Veltar gasped. Maybe more, Hyunwoo admitted. But that's still better odds than we usually get when fighting cosmic horrors. You've fought cosmic horrors before? Quindala asked. A few times, Daewon replied. There was the Entropy Beast in 2387, the Star Eater in 2391, and that thing in the Andromeda approach last year. What happened to them? Zeph asked. We killed them all, Hyunwoo said matter-of-factly. How? Several voices asked at once. Various methods, Daewon said. The Entropy Beast required a custom-built reality bomb. The Star Eater we had to lure into a collapsing galaxy. The Andromeda thing took 17 different types of exotic weapons before we found something that worked. The council members sat in stunned silence. You're saying that humanity regularly fights and defeats entities that threaten entire star systems? Veltar asked weakly. Not regularly, Hyunwoo corrected. Maybe once every few years. Most threats are much smaller. What do you consider a small threat? The plant being asked. Hostile alien fleets, rogue AI systems, dimensional invaders, Daewon listed casually. The usual stuff. The usual stuff, Quindala repeated in a hollow voice. Is there anything else? Hyunwoo asked, standing up. We should get started as soon as possible. Just one more question, Veltar said. After you defeat the Void Swarm, will humanity continue to protect the galaxy from similar threats? Hyunwoo and Daewon exchanged glances. If you want us to, Hyunwoo replied, though we'd appreciate it if the council could contribute something to our defense efforts. What kind of contribution? Zeph asked. Resources, mostly, Daewon said. Fighting cosmic horrors is expensive. We go through a lot of ammunition. And ships, Hyunwoo added. We lose a lot of ships. How much would this cost? Quindala asked, nervously. Maybe 10% of the galaxy's total economic output, Hyunwoo estimated. That should be enough to maintain adequate defenses. 10%? Veltar gasped. It's a bargain, Daewon assured her. The alternative is having your entire civilization consumed by things like the Void Swarm. The council members looked at each other with expressions of resignation mixed with relief. Very well, Veltar said finally. The council agrees to support human defense operations. Excellent, Hyunwoo replied. We'll send you regular reports on our progress. As they prepared to leave, Zeph called out one final question. How confident are you that you can actually defeat the Void Swarm? Yunwoo paused at the chamber entrance. Honestly, we have no idea. This thing is unlike anything we've encountered before. But we'll figure something out, Da-Yun added with a bright smile. We always do. As they walked away from the chamber, they could hear worried conversations breaking out behind them. Phrases like, "What have we done?" and "We're all going to." Dai mixed with, "Maybe they can actually do it, and at least we have a chance." They seem nice, Da-Un commented as they headed back to their ship. Very nice, Hyunwoo agreed. I hope we can save them. Of course we can save them, Da-Un replied confidently. How hard can it be to kill one little cosmic horror? Hyunwoo smiled. He loved her optimism, even when it was completely unrealistic. 6 months later, the Void Swarm was gone. The galaxy was safe, and the Galactic Council had learned an important lesson about the difference between pets and apex predators. They were very grateful that humans were on their side.